Boone?
Yeah, I'll just give you a few figures. These figures are from the Budget and Tax Survey of the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners, which is available online. If you take Iredell County's per pupil spending, capital and current, and add them together, we are, I think, $2,372 per pupil. The state average was $2,095. We're significantly above the state average. We spend twice as much as Alexander County, more than, I think, 5 of the 9 counties surrounding us. So we are actually a little bit above average as far as what Iredell County appropriates to schools. County debt, which is mostly for school construction, we're the 10th highest of the 100 counties in North Carolina in per capita debt. Most of that debt was for school construction. So Iredell County is spending a lot of money on schools. School spending has been reduced a little bit in the last 2 or 3 years, but we're still spending in inflation-adjusted dollars. We're still spending more per capita, both at the local level and at the state level, than we were 9 or 10 years ago or at any time prior to that. We're spending more per capita than we were during the last year of Education Governor Jim Hunt's term per capita, even with the recent reductions. We're spending, according to the United States Department of Education, in the United States, we're spending over twice as much per pupil. This is in inflation-adjusted dollars as we were 25 or 30 years ago.
Mr. Stewart?
Well, to answer the question, or a portion of the county, I sincerely believe that the level of funding at the present is acceptable. And it will have to be until this county can print more money. You cannot appropriate what you do not have. And I happen to have been a member of the board when all the funding for the schools took place, and rebuilding and refurbishing schools and building new schools. And that is where the debt is nowadays. And those debts will have to be paid, but our children will be able to enjoy being in decent school settings, and having good teachers is what's important to educating children. And I believe that really there's not a whole lot of way we could, at this time, improve the funding for schools with current expense. Now, whatever the state's able to do is as big a question as what the county will be able to do. And I think you all are aware of the financial situation the entire country's in. And this also goes into private schools. I know my sister is a principal of a private school in Virginia, a Christian school. And so many of those people have had to withdraw their children from Christian school and put them in public education. And the school systems have suffered because Virginia has the largest number of Christian and private schools of any state around us. So there's a lot to be considered in the educational situation these days, and I think our county is certainly doing the best they can do.
Thank you. Mr. Moody, same question.
Yes. I have a little trouble with the word appropriate, because that is just, it depends on what context you put it in. As we had, again, I go back to appreciate Ken Robertson for breaking out, the budget, so I didn't have to remember all those numbers. And really, it comes down to priorities. And is it appropriate, to our priorities? And that's very subjective. Given the fact that the state has advocated, given its own funded mandates, and abdicated its responsibility, and told us to, let Iredell County eat cake, more or less like that. Are we doing? I think the better way to put the question is, are we doing as much as is appropriate for Iredell County in our circumstances? Because for every dollar we move over to education, we're having to take it from somewhere else. And the somewhere else is EMS, law enforcement, the other mandated services. And the economy is tough. In the private sector, public sector has been no different than the private sector. People have lost jobs. People have had to cut back. Businesses have had to retool and rethink. So to answer the question directly, I think at this time, I think the county commission have done as good a job as anybody ever could, and that it is appropriate at this time. But will it, as the tax base increases, the economy recover, we need to be careful not to increase our infrastructure and get into debt again.
Mr. Brater?
My answer to the question is no, I don't think the schools are appropriately funded at this point. The last few years, my experience on the school board, I have witnessed the elimination of summer school. I've witnessed the class sizes substantially increase. The universal breakfast program is gone. School employees have not only not had a raise in 4 years, they've had cuts in their pay. Unfunded mandates continue to cripple us. I wanted to see to it that we kept our SROs in our schools. It was my idea. I took the superintendent in my car and we went around to the different municipalities and the county manager and asked for some assistance to keep the officers in the schools. We've been very proactive in the district, applying for grants and receiving some of the biggest grants that have ever been received in the nation. Good schools are a leading draw to economic development. My service on the Economic Development Board, at time and time again, when people come in to locate a business here, the first question they ask is, please tell us about your schools. It's number one. The state's no longer even paying for school buses. They're not paying for textbooks. So basically you get what you pay for. And when I mentioned partnerships earlier, I think this is an excellent opportunity. In 2002, we had 40 business partners for the schools. We now have 167. In 2002, we had 0 faith-based partners. We now have 101. These folks are coming to the schools, helping us make things happen with the kids. Thanks.
Thank you. And finally, on this question about school funding, Mr. Fred Coggins.
Once again, I love all these figures. They say minus, minus, minus. They give you minuses. Well, guess what? You can make figures read any way you want to. I don't care what kind of statistician you are. I can take the money you live on now and give you a better school system than what you got. You're wasting money on committees studying for superintendents, paying them too high salaries. You got too many administrative people, and the ones you need to worry about are the teachers. The teachers are going to make and break you in the school system. I've spent 25 years coaching kids, and a lot of these kids would love to have some teachers that knew to have a job. Your president, commissioner, and county board are not going to give your teachers what they need, because they live under the situation. I'll give your superintendent $200,000, but screw you. I'll pay you less and less and less. I'll give your administrative people $200,000, but screw you. I'll give the rest of you less and less. The bottom man gets less and less, and these commissioners and board keep putting big high salaries for your superintendent. What do? They stay one term and leave. Why do you want to pay a guy a fortune to spend 4 years and buy another one 4 more years? Thank you.